All right, this will be part 2 of the previous video, and I'll label them. I accidentally cut off the video on my tablet, but I was talking about. Let me get back into the groove. I got a little bit disconnected mentally. I was talking about habits, about familiarity, and the building of habits hinges upon familiarity. You begin at a stage, right? I had a little diagram, a very basic diagram I was beginning to draw. I had a very basic diagram that I was beginning to draw with a beginning point and an end point. And as a habit begins to build, or actually as it begins to build, you are already progressing along this spectrum, this diagram, you might say, that I'm drawing. In the beginning, you've got what comes before, and then you've got the beginning, right? So I guess it's a little more complicated than a diagram can illustrate. Before a habit builds, you are going to find yourself resistant to the action involving said habit, or the procedure, the set of actions, right? Might be a simple procedure or a complicated one. It might be an amalgamation of actions, right? Hopefully not too complex. In the beginning, before the beginning, you are going to be very resistant to doing something because you don't have the habit. It's not habitual. Maybe you've done it once or twice. Maybe you've never done it. And that beginning point illustrates where you begin to build the habit, right? And as you do something more and more, and you become more familiar with it, as that familiarity increases, your resistance is going to decrease, your resistance to the action. And it's going to get to the point, if you keep progressing, where eventually you're going to get past, continually you're going to be resisting the action less and less, right? It's going to become more habitual or easier for you to do, right? And by the way, I think before I got cut off earlier, I mentioned that it is very natural, right? There shouldn't be guilt associated with you lacking the motivation to do things that you're not in the habit of doing, or having difficulty finding the motivation. Habit has a lot to do with it, with motivation, in my experience, a lot. So it's something we got to do away with, right? When there's something that you feel you need to do, or that needs to happen in your life that you have trouble with, look to habits. Don't beat yourself up or feel guilty excessively. It's going to happen a little bit, but understand that you haven't built the habit yet. And so, to be motivated to do something that you haven't done very often is it's not natural, right? It's natural not to be motivated if you have not developed a habit. Back to where I was, right? You're progressing, you get more familiar. Increasingly, right, you're going to get less resistant to doing something. It would stand to reason that you're going to get to a point where you're actually going to be turning on this fulcrum, right? I want to draw another diagram, but I'm not going to do that. Where you're going from resistance to inclination, right? You are becoming less resistant to doing something. And when you get to the point where there's no resistance, there's going to be a crossover. And you're going to get into the territory of inclination. You're going to be inclined to do it. And this will increase as well if you continue building the habit. Obviously you can see where we're going. We're getting into the territory of potential compulsions, as we call them, or even addictions. They're a part of life. We've all got them, unfortunately. And habits are at their root. Habits are a tool that can go dark. Just like anything, if not taken in moderation, anything anything in excess, anything that becomes too habitual can become problematic. And I have a call that I need to take, so I'm going to have to, I think it's a good time, 5 minutes plus the other, I think it was 3 or 4. I'm going to put an end to this, this little explanation here, this little exploration.